Hello everybody, are you ready for the next chapters in our book Running on the Roof of the World? We're up to chapter 37, Mandala, and we left it where Eve the yak has a bit of a limp, hasn't she? And Tash and Sam have just gone to sleep, and Tash has just gone to sleep with her arm over Eve's head. The roar of thunder is muted. Sam shines the torch at the walls. It's just big enough for us all. Eve shakes her coat, spraying water drops on us. Bones nervously lifts his hooves. Sam strokes him, soothing him. I rub Eve's muzzle, feeling the soft bite above her nose between her eyes. Sam squats and builds a fire close to the entrance. It's wet and just a tiny flame ignites, but it calms Eve and she sinks to her knees and lies down. I cuddle up to her wet coat. Sam picks up some charcoal from the fire and draws a circle around us. It scrapes across the floor. He adds a zigzag pattern and forms an inner circle. A mandala, he says. I smile. It represents the universe and sacred space. When we're inside it, we're safe. What about the yaks, I ask. He gets back on his hands and knees and crawls around them, drawing a circle with him. There, he says, now we're all safe. Eve licks it with her long, leathery tongue. I'm sorry it's not food, I whisper. I try again to feed her grains, but she won't eat anything. I glance around the dark, pebbly edges of the cave, half expecting to see a bear. Pulling the copy of the Snow Lion from my pocket, I open it again. Sam snatches the piece of paper out of my hand. We've got more important things to worry about, like what on earth we do when we see the Dalai Lama. What are you doing? I grab it back. It tears down the middle. I seize the other half from him and hold it close to my chest. My dad wrote those words, I say. This is all I have of him right now. I glare at Sam, my breath shallow and fast. He looks into the fire. The flames crackle in his pupils. Tash, he says, I'm sorry, it's just... I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you before. His eyes are serious and sad. He's never looked at me like that before. What, I ask, what is it? Just before we left, I joined the resistance with your parents. His words form a wall that slams into me. You're lying, I say. But I know he's telling the truth. I just don't want to believe it. Why didn't you tell me? One of the rules is that we can't tell anyone. They say trust no one. It takes a second for his words to register with me. We always promise to tell each other everything. I close my fists and think of our eagle signal. It seems meaningless now. You talk about the truth, and all this time you were lying to me, Sam. You were lying. I know, and I'm sorry. Are you? Or is that just another lie, I ask? The fire reaches a grassy bit of dung and sparks and fizzes, matching the anger that I feel inside. If you don't trust me, then why are you coming with me? It's not like that, says Sam. I want to help you. I don't want help from a liar, I yell. Pure hurt pours from my mouth. I picture Mum and Dad and Sam sharing secrets together, laughing behind my back. I know what you've been doing this whole time, I say. You've been stealing my family because your dad doesn't care about you. There's a silence and I can feel the pain surging out of him. You want me gone? He asks, his cheeks flashing red. He pauses, waiting for my response, and I shrink inside myself. Fine. Come on, Bones. He disappears, swallowed up by the blackness outside. The shadows claw up the cave walls. I reach out and touch the cold sides to steady myself. Don't go, I whisper. It's too late. My voice echoes around an empty cave. If you can hear any noises, it's because it's lunchtime. Chapter 38. Alone. I stay in the cave all night with Eve, trying to make sense of everything. I rest my head against her shaggy long hair. I think back over the past month, the time Sam worried about trouble with the soldiers, the hushed conversation he shared with Dad, Even the way he knew the letter was a secret message. Why wouldn't Mum and Dad want me to join the resistance? I could be just as much a help as anyone else, I know it. Eve grunts and I stroke her ears. She has kept watch with me all night. My clothes are damp from the storm, and I shiver as the coldness seeps into my skin. I close my eyes, trying to unscramble my thoughts. I wonder just how many people are in the resistance, and think about the different reasons they might have joined. I know I'm not the only one with parents in prison. Sam should really have returned by now. He must be heading back to our town. He really has gone. I stop and focus on the only thing I know to be true, that I need to get to the Dalai Lama. The wind whistles, sending a chill up my spine. The rain's finally stopped and the storm is further away. It's beginning to get light. With Sam gone, I'm scared to leave the Mandala circle. I glance at the supplies. Time is ticking and I'm running low. There's probably only enough food for a day or two. Sam left with bones and one of the supply bags. He has half of everything. Slowing my breaths, I crawl to the edge and step outside of the circle. Okay, Eve, I say, it's me and you now. We're almost there. Outside, there's an eerie wet mist that swamps everything. I can hardly see in front of me and I slip, grabbing onto Eve to stop myself from falling. She's thin. Her matted skirt of thick hair hides the rib cage I feel underneath. Why haven't you been eating? I yell at her. Instantly, I hug her neck. I'm sorry, I say, gripping her shaggy coat. We battle onwards up the steep slope. This is the last mountain, I tell Eve. After this, we'll have made it. It sleets. Icy arrows shoot from the sky and sting my face. My feet slip. I look around for another cave. I'm drenched, and icicles cling to Eve's hair. We can't go on. Let's turn back, I say. We'll rest, and I'll find you some food. I'm shivering badly. I lead her around. She trips. All her weight thuds to the ground as she falls onto her side. Her head smashes into the snow, and flakes flurry into the air. Eve, I shout, dropping to my knees next to her. I stroke her head. She looks up at me with sad, tired eyes. Come on, Eve, I plead, get up. She pulls her head up, but then it rests back down. Panic tightens in my chest. Help me, I shout, but there's no one there. A blizzard roars and snow tumbles out of the sky. Pushing her shoulder up with my knees, I try to get her to budge. Get up, Eve, and I tug at her horns. I sink into the snow next to her head. Our foreheads touch. Her nostrils flare with her fast, panting breath, and it warms my face. Please, Eve, I beg. The snow piles up around us. My body is numb. I know we can't stay there for long. We'll rest, I say, just for a minute. I wish Sam was here. Eve's breathing quickens. She mumbles on every exhalation. I curl up into her, burying my head into her neck. I taste my salty tears before they freeze. The snow is the softest blanket. My muscles no longer ache. My body feels heavy, and I'm drifting into a dream world. I can see Mum and Dad and Sam. Everything will be better if I can just close my eyes. Chapter 39. Snows. I take a sharp breath. Oxygen shoots to my head. I'm upside down, wrapped in layers of blankets and slung over Sam's shoulder. Sam! Sharp stinging shoots up and down my body. Sam rests me on bones and I hug his neck and let the yak's body warm mine. Shouldn't have left, says Sam quietly. I'm sorry. I tried to find you sooner, but I got lost. Sam takes my feet in his hands and rubs them. There's no feeling in the top of my soul. It's too late, I say. I know what frostbite is, how the blood stops circulating to your toes and then they fall off. Sam keeps on moving my feet. When I got back to the cave, you were gone. I do trust you. You have to believe me. Eve, I say, lifting my head and looking round. Where's Eve? Sam is quiet. His long matted hair falls in front of his face. I turn, expecting to see her sitting behind us, watching me from under her big eyelashes, but she's not there. Only one set of hoof prints down the mountain. My heart rips in two. Eve protected me, and she saved my life. I'm so sorry, Tash. His voice sounds far away. I think of Eve, and it's too much to bear. I feel as if I'm falling and let myself slip into darkness. The next time I open my eyes, Sam's built a fire with the last of the dung. I'm wrapped up in everything we have with us. I move my arms and stretch my legs. The circulation slowly comes back. I point and flex my feet. I can feel them. How bad are they, I ask. Tash, Sam says, jumping up and rushing towards me. I think they'll be okay. He dashes over to the pot, resting on two stones, and pours steaming broth into a cup. He wraps my fingers around it. My body feels like it needs to sleep for 1,000,000 years. I take a sip, and the warmth of the soup spreads down my throat and into my tummy. How long have I been out for? It's light but gloomy, as if the sun never rose properly. I take a pained breath as I replay what happened. Eve can't be gone. I hug my knees to my chest. Manny needs her. I need her. Where is she, I ask. You were lying in the snow together when I found you, Sam replies. Up there. He gestures to the top of the slope. I have to see her. Sam tilts his head towards me. It's quite far up. I have to check. I hear my voice waver. I have to be certain. Sam nods and helps me stand. He links my arms together, and together we limp through the land of the snow to find Eve. Chapter 40, Burial. Eve lies peacefully in the snow. When I touch her coat, it's cold, and I finally realise that life has left her body. It's just flesh now. I kneel next to her and brush the thin layer of snow away. Grief grips me and squeezes my chest. I let her down. This wasn't meant to happen. I think back to Sam's mum's funeral and the walk up 200 steps into the clouds where we laid her body on rocks to be taken by the sky dancers. We're even higher here. I want to give her a burial, I say. Are you sure? Asks Sam. I nod. But I can't help but feel that this is my fault. I'm the one who insisted that we bring the yaks. I'm the one who pushed her out into the snow. I have to say goodbye to her in the proper way, the traditional way. I owe her that. Bones stands over Eve. He lowers his head and nudges her with his horns. She's not coming back, Bones, says Sam. Not in this body, I say. I pretend the smoking dung is juniper incense and wave it over her body with my shaky fingers. I say a prayer for her. Thank you, Eve, our loyal companion. Your life was precious. Even though I hear the words, it doesn't feel real. I keep expecting Eve to grunt and lift her head, but she stays motionless. I'm so sorry. I miss you. I can't bring myself to say those things out loud. Hand me your knife, I say to Sam. I cut some of her hair off and hold clumps of it in my hand. Ripping the lining of my coat open, I stuff it inside. Her hair will give me an extra layer of warmth. Sam is still next to me. I know he must be thinking about his mum. I reach out and touch his arm. When his mum died, Dad taught me about rebirth and how, after death, you return to the world in a new body. Afterwards, I look for Sam's mum in every newborn child, every newborn animal and insect. What do you think Eve will come back as? She was already the best a yak could be, replies Sam, so maybe she'll be a human. I remember the way Eve looked after me, how she'd stop to check I was still walking behind her and nuzzle my arms to keep me warm. She had the kindest of hearts. She'll be a wonderful person. I sink down into the snow next to her. How will I ever tell Manny? I ask quietly. Manny may be old, but he can look after himself. You don't need to worry about him right now, says Sam gently. You can't blame yourself. Except I do. It's hard not to see her death as a sign that I'm doing the wrong things. With Mum and Dad not here, how am I supposed to know what to do? I look up to the mountain peaks, willing my parents to appear and tell me how to keep going. We're quiet for a while, watching Eve together. The wind scatters now across the ground in shapes and swirls. Sam squeezes my shoulder, and I realise that the answer is next to me. Sam, I ask, can you call them? Are you sure? He mumbles. It's time, I say. Tears stream down my face. The wind freezes them against my cheek. Sam throws his head back, his long hair dangling past his shoulders. He looks older as he opens his mouth into an oval shape. From the back of his throat, he makes the rasping call of the vultures. The sky is still. Try again, I say. He calls, straining to be louder this time. The noise echoes off the mountains back at us. I stare up at the sky. One fluffy cloud is in front of the peak. They're not here, says Sam. Then suddenly I see them. The sky is full of big birds circling and soaring. The black fingers at the end of their wings ruffle. They swoop down, stumbling and falling over as they land, beating their wings to steady themselves. They shuffle towards Eve and their curved beaks and hunched shoulders. Let's go, I say, and I grip his hand in mine as the two of us turn to leave together. Poor Eve. And we'll start chapter 41 next time. Bye for now.